Tired of sucking? Well, you're in luck, for you found me, Louis Guidetti. Here's the progression you'll find in this video. Here I decided to bring the light up while correcting the drawing and preparing the painting for the final stage where we will detail the out of it. We started the first video, we went over just essentially with black and cadmium, just trying to get the basic proportions. We're looking at the overall shape. Second video, we moved into adding the basic values and the colors and such, right? But all with the interest of trying to find the larger shapes, right? That's what we're trying to do. And what do we do now? Do we start just detailing and forgetting the larger shapes? No, idiots. Son of a bitch. Sometimes this will happen. So essentially, I am going in with a mixture of pretty much 1 part walnut oil, 1 part poppy oil, and then 1 part mineral spirits, and it makes a nice smooth oiling out mixture. I haven't painted on this really for about a week, and so sometimes we have to go and oil it out. And you don't want to put too much oil on, but we just want to be able to see the values a little bit better. So in this video, I'm going to be going over trying to essentially same thing, correcting the proportions, which there are a lot of proportions off in this one. I still need to correct the proportions. I'm going to be building the paint up. I'm going to be pushing the values, that's the light and dark colors, lights and darks, while pushing the color. So we're going to give it more of the finish. I'll be going through, like I have in the previous videos, doing time lapses in between me talking about exactly what I am in fact doing. So how do we get rid of this? Well, first off, we can paint over if we want, but I can always come in here and just take this away. And frankly, I probably should just, at this point, I could leave this, but I could also scrape it down. I might just leave this for now because I really don't care. See, I'm an expert, so that stuff doesn't really daunt me. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get my palette. All right, so I got my brushes all lined up here, and I have about 4 or 5 brushes. I'll add probably 1 or 2 more on. Each brush is gonna have a specific range of values. So what I mean by that is I might have a light brush that covers a value range here. I might have another brush that covers value ranges here, going down. You get the idea. So going from dark to light, and that way we have kind of cleaner brushes. And I always will wipe the paint off here. The main thing is, if you don't want it muddy, constantly go back to your palette and clean the brushes off. So with my oiling out brush, I'm gonna actually squint down, and with the goal of bringing the light values up and correcting the shape. And one of the first things that I saw when I came back today is this is too big for this. So in other words, the forehead needs to come up, I think, just a slight bit, and this part needs to come up some too, and this actually might come down just a little bit. So in other words, the forehead gets bigger, this gets a little bit smaller, among many other things, but we're gonna be doing that through correcting the light values, adding color, and now thinking about proper paint application. In the second video, I was essentially just mixing in between the values on the painting more. Now I'm gonna be mixing individual values and with individual colors to make it turn. And there will be a degree of blending on this, on the actual board, which this is birchwood panel. But there's gonna be more individual brush strokes and such to make it turn, so that when we step back about 3 heights back, so 3 heights of the painting back, which would be probably about right here, is where it's meant to be viewed. In all paintings, about 3 heights back. So your eye is gonna do some blending, so we're gonna have some brush work going on there, so we're just gonna be more specific. How I get the values, I'm gonna come in here and, like I said, lighter brush here. And let's go up in the forehead here, and I'm going to bring the light up some, and I already did to a degree. Now, this is a good highlight probably for, like, you know, around the nose area here if I really want to, and this is really pushing it. This is probably gonna be too light. Right, that's probably too light, but we're starting to key the values up at this point. So essentially how I work, and I've done several videos on this, first we're going in between and getting the light or dark value, and then we're saying, okay, what color is it? So I'm going up in the forehead, and I'm gonna add a little bit of orange, which is a mixture between yellow and red. That's Indian red, yellow ochre. So we're coming in. Now we're thinking about paint application. And I am squinting down as I do this, and I am just lightly putting this on, okay? And I see this value here, coming here. Now here's the other thing. There might be, I really, like the photograph I'm going off of is not that great. So I might take some liberties with this and change some of the values based off of what I know, like my experience in painting from the live model, right? So I might, in other words, alter this, improve, if you will, the photograph. There's enough information where I can, you know, get the gist of everything down, but I think I can expand upon it. So we're just lightly, we're bringing the light value up, right? We want the same light impression. When we do this, you'll notice these colors are going to appear darker, all right? And so we're going to have to, I'm going with the same brush, and I'm going to make it a little bit more red coming up in here. And we're just going to do subtle variations. The red's going to bring the value down some. And it's okay to show a little bit of brush stroke to it. A little bit of brush stroke. You don't need to blend. You don't want to overblend. So like I said, I'm going to bring this forehead up maybe just a little bit. Just a little bit there, and I'm squinting down to do it. And then actually, let's get a little greener value right in there. So I'm gonna come in here, darken this just a little bit, and we're gonna go with our green. Anybody? How do we get a green? Well, with limited palette, which is what we're using, we use ivory black and yellow ochre. Yellow ochre, right? We'll just green this out just a little bit more. So I'm constantly going back with the brush on my palette, and we're going to put this down, and it needs to get a little bit lighter, okay? It needs to get a little bit lighter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of my light here and come into it and put a little bit of that green into it, and let's see what this does. So now we're getting kind of what we want. I'm just laying the paint down and going very slowly. You don't need to go fast. All right, so in doing this, and I'll go back in and continuously cut in back and forth with the other values as well. So I did a lighter value that's a little bit more orange. I'm gonna bring it in here, and I'm squinting down and just lightly going over and trying to get that brush stroke I want. Step back to see how it looks at a distance. All right. And this is essentially how I'm working. I'm going to add some orange in here, which is going to bring the value down because this value is darker. When I say value, how light it is. This is darker than this. So I'm going to add color, and I'm going to darken the value at the same time. So as painters, we're supposed to be thinking of how dark something is and what color it is, and then where we place it and how we place it. That's the application. Okay, so in here, is going to be a little bit more pink. Okay, so do you see what I'm doing now? Now that we have the drawing, which still needs to be corrected, but it's more or less established. We have the drawing, and now I am I am getting more detailed with the colors. It's just like in drawing. You start with basic shapes, and then you start hatching in and breaking those shapes down. Now we're adding color in the painting. It's the same method right here. So this actually could have some more color to it, and the same with the red. This red right here is going to be, that's Indian red, is going to be darker than the value I was using. So I'm going to place this down. That's a little bit darker, and that's the fleshy color. And this is, look, this doesn't even have blue in it. This has, essentially, it's just yellow, Indian red, and yellow ochre and some white. Wait, what did I say? Yellow ochre, Indian red, black, and white. I think I said yellow twice the first time. Anyway, that's essentially it. So this is how we are going about building this up. And so I'm going to see this color right here, also right here. And I vaguely remember, but John remembered me saying this, but John Singer Sargent was very good at, I mean, he sucked. He's not as good as me, but I heard he's good at kind of turning the values, the transitions bringing the brush stroke like that instead of just going 1, 2, 3. He kind of turns them up into it, which I, of course, will be doing very easily because I am way better than John Singer Sargent. I think everybody can concur. That one. I've done several videos on this explaining why I am better than him. Why I am better. So here we go. And I am just squinting down and just slowly trying to turn the form. And this is really with the same brush. It's working within this value range. I'm gonna continue doing this, but let me show you, like, if I'm going into this value right here and I want a different brush here, I'm gonna be coming in and this is kind of my purple right here. It's just black and red. Let's make this a little bit purpley, okay? Something like this, and let's push the red. I think this is the value that I want. And we can kind of come in here, and now we're adding color. Right? And so this brush right here, it doesn't make sense to push this brush to this value right here. So that's what I mean by having different brushes for different values. So guys, to avoid the risk of this running too long, I'm going to go ahead, time lapse this forward some. You get the idea of what I'm doing. I'm going to try to be as thorough as I can with this so y'all get the most holistic idea of how we paint this. At this point, I am still focusing on the main shapes, trying to see this as a large shape right here, squinting down, unifying this area, looking at this to this right here, seeing this entire shape here. I know this is a little sketchy, but when we squint down, I'm just trying to get the impression of what I see. And at this point, and this separates this third stage from the second stage. Second stage, we're not really worrying about color. Now we're trying to go and we're trying to find the greens. We got some greens here, we got some yellow here, orange here, a little bit green, but this is incorrect here. This drawing is not correct. It's a little bit grayed out, a little bit milky in places it shouldn't be. This is gonna be this is more orange, this is green, or a little bit more gray, but lighter, so it pops out. So I'm starting to see these planes, get more specific with my mixing. Last thing I did before I stopped streaming to film this video was I was coming down here, adding some of the greens in here, bringing the light up here, and I was just about to come in with this brush right here and fill in with a little bit more warm and reddish colors coming down in the chin while bringing the light up and correcting the shape. So we're trying to get the shape, we're trying to get the light and dark values, and we're trying to get the color and proper application. I am really trying to build up the paint up in here. It's not how I want it painted yet. The brush strokes to me don't look attractive yet, but I'm going to continue going over. I might get the drawing correct, I might get the color correct, I might get the light value correct, all those things correct, but I don't like the way that the paint's either built up or how the brush stroke itself looks. And so it's important to note too that I'm also stepping back here to unify everything, to make sure that everything is working all together and that I didn't overwork it by working up close here, which is a mistake a lot of butthole idiots make in the beginning. So let me demonstrate to you exactly what I'm doing. As we can see here, this is the value that I was using around this area, which is a little bit grayer. I was trying to bring some light into it. And in fact, I've had a short break, so I can see a couple things that need to be done. I'm going to lighten this area up, and I'm going to add a little bit of orange. So I'm going to make it a little bit more light and a little bit more orange, just subtly, all right? So I take it here, I'm thinking about what I have on the brush, and then I'm going to squint down, and now the drawing comes into play, and I'm just going to slowly think about the brush stroke and pull it down into position. And if I need it darker, I can go darker. If I need it lighter, I can go lighter. And think about the color. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this a little bit darker, probably around this area right here. I'm going to add a little bit of darkness. And I'm going to push the red just a little bit in here and see what this does here. All right, we're just bringing some light in. This is okay. I like how the direction it's heading. I'm going to go with the form this way. This is going across the form because the chin's coming out. I'm flowing with the form right now. And then from here, same thing. I'm gonna bring some out here. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit darker value, but I'm gonna keep it a little bit more orangish/red there. Now, keep in mind, I am still looking at the entire shape when I do this. It's almost like I'm painting this by looking at it with my peripheral vision, right? That's the outside, this outside rim of vision right here. Because I want to keep in mind everything what's happening, how this affects the overall shape. And in doing so, sometimes when I paint here, I see other things that I'm doing elsewhere. So as you can tell, darker value, but I am slowly thinking about those colors. And you don't see me really blending in at this point. It's okay to blend a little bit, but that's why paintings get a little bit muddy, because we start blending these colors in too much. But if you can make solid brush strokes that you can see up close, when you step back, your eye, if the value is correct, your eye should blend it in for you, and you will find that it has solid form and depth to it, right? Form, the anatomy, the structure, that's what we're going for. With the same brush right here, I'm going to take it, because this, I'm working within a value range with this brush, somewhere around here. I'm going to take this, lighten it up some, and really add a little bit more red. Let's lighten it up a little bit more, add a little bit more red, because that chin has a nice fleshy color to it, right? These are the words we have to use if we're artists. It's fleshy, it's very earthy, right? That's how we have to think about this stuff. I'm taking it, then I'm thinking scoop it up on my brush, and I'm going to squint down and look at this entire area, thinking about the drawing and slowly placing this down. I'm laying a solid foundation for what I need. This value, I feel like it can come over here. I'm gonna bring this down. That I actually might have brought that down a little bit too much there. I can always bring it back up. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm going to take actually a little bit lighter of a brush right here. I'm gonna come in on the darker side of it, because this is the value brush, like going like this, but I'm gonna bring it into this side a little bit, darken this a little bit, and this might actually be still too light, maybe, I don't know, we'll have to see. Do this, and I'm actually gonna take what we have, this is kind of like our purple right here. What I'm doing, I'm taking away, which one was it? Was it this that I was, dang it, I lost it. Anyway, I'm taking away essentially a lot of the yellow. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna take this, scoop it up, squint down, and just ever so slightly, just pull it on, and I might work edges, I'm barely touching it. And I'm gonna step back and see how that looks. And so that's how, it needs some work, but this is how at this stage I am going about developing this area. Let's push it a little bit darker. I'm gonna come down here. We had this mixed. I don't think I did that before. I'm thinking about two things. When I'm mixing, I'm thinking about how light or dark it is, and then I'm thinking about the color, right? Those two things, that's what I'm thinking about. And so again, I'm gonna squint down. This is gonna be slightly lighter, but a little bit more color into it. I'm just gonna bring this in like that. All right, squint down. This comes up a little bit here. Step back and look at it. And what I see is that there needs to be a little bit more light coming in here. So I'm gonna come back in with this brush right here, and I'm gonna push this a little bit lighter right here, because I don't want it that light, but I want it lighter than this, slightly lighter with this brush right here. All right, so from here, I tell you what, let's go with the form this time. Let's just flow with the form. Let's see what what happens with this. One, boom, and then let's just tie it in here. Actually, with me, it's catching the light, so I see a little reflection. So I'm just pulling that there, and I might actually come over one, two like that. So I'm bringing the light in that way. I'm thinking about the form, and this way, this is what I'm doing. This is what you're seeing. That's a little demonstration. You can see up here, I'm trying to have some brush stroke to denote the planes. So guys, at this point, that's what I'm thinking about, the color, the form, the anatomy. Now you can understand why I stress drawing, because you have to know where to place it. Just like in drawing, we start with the big basic shapes, broad color, don't worry about the color too much. And then when we think everything's ballpark is correct, then we start going through and slowly honing in on the smaller shapes, on the color, building the paint up, and then just correcting what we've done. And this will go on for a couple more days. I want to push this painting more, so I'm going to time lapse this, and then I will do a quick commentary at the very end, maybe get a little bit of painting done. Who knows? Who knows? It could go anywhere. What's good, Eddie? Haven't slept in days. I'm going to show you how to do the hair. The painting is sunken in. I'm going to have to oil it out. So the first things first, what we're going to do is, dang it, I forgot my medium. Just going to take a little bit of medium, in this case, walnut oil, and we're going to lightly brush it in. As we can tell right here, it's just like a wet chalkboard coming to life, right? Now this is all by design. Here's the thing. You don't want to put this on too thick, like your mom's kinkles. You just want to brush it and make sure it's very thin. And as we can see, the color is coming out. Now, we can use this not just to make it look pretty and to make us happy and say, look how good I am, but to use it to actually make the paint flow a little bit better, get a certain technique that I like doing in the hair. All right, so everything is setting up for everything else that we do. In the darks, especially, you see the change here. So it's very thin. And then what we do, I have two brushes right here. I'm going to show you exactly how I go about doing the hair colors. These are the skin tones right here, just basic skin tones. Here we have grays, obviously, and so it's not going to be totally gray. Dang it, where's my reference? Got my reference? It's not going to be totally grayed out. There's going to be some brown in it. So what we do, we're going to take what we think. First off, what do we do? What do we do? We think of the value, how light or dark something is, and then we think of the color, right? And we put it on the proper paintbrush application. So it's going to be about right here. And do a mixture between the two right here. All right, so I'm going to start with this. I always find it's a little bit better to start perhaps a little bit darker. So as we can see here, we're just kind of, just take your time in the mixing process, right? Mixing process. Then we're going to get the brush how we want it. I'm going to kind of fray it a little bit. You don't want it too sharp for this. And then ever so slightly, I'm just going to brush this on right here. Very lightly, right? Very lightly. Damn it! Okay? This will work up here, not down there. Okay? Very lightly, like this. And in fact, that was actually by design because I can show you how to fix this if this happens. But anyway, we come up here. And I am doing a little bit more of a controlled grip by bringing my hands up towards the brush right here. You don't want to do this, but I mean, it's okay to bring it up here, close around the top. And so we're just going to slowly get kind of a brush stroke in here. And then we're going to shape this a little bit too. Now, we don't want to just do one value here and leave the transitions. What I like to do, that's why I have another brush. This brush right here is going to be for the darker transitions going in. So we're going to take probably a value around right here, okay? We're going to mix this so it's kind of a mixture between, we're graying out the skin tones, right? It's a good way of going about getting the hair colors in this case. Right, and if we need to, we can come up here and get some red, orange, yellow, whatever. But right now, this should be okay. So I'm going to come in here and I need to shape this again. So I'm going to come in here, kind of fray the brush just a little bit, get to the shape that I want, press it in. There we go. I think that's it. Okay. Now I'm going to kind of squint down, and now it comes into the drawing comes into play here. There we go. So I'm just going to slowly go over certain areas right here and just kind of fade it out just a little bit. And let's make it a little bit darker than I had it. I'm going to actually get probably somewhere around here. In fact, I could probably veer up towards this area a little bit more. Somewhere around here. Let's try that. In the mid-tone, there's going to be more color, so it'll probably be less gray. So I could probably go up towards the values that I have. These values up top with more color. So it'll probably come up around here. There we go, and let's bring this down here too. All right, so very soft, very light. And one thing we can do if it's too much paint, we can kind of take this off. Take it off with the paper towel and come back in just ever so slightly, just get a little bit. And that way we can have a little bit more control of what we have with it. There we go. So I'm just gonna be putting this on very, very lightly. And I'm gonna put a couple more pieces down here. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come in, let's go over this just a little bit. Okay. Now it's too light, so this is the brush I oiled out with. I chose this brush right here because it is in fact a nice frizzy shape, which I think will do well with hair. And the hair, you do want to have color in it. It's not going to be black, totally black. So I'm just going to go up here. I'm going to keep the chroma, right? As compared to this. This is gray, so this is going to have more color, right? It's going to have more chroma, as we say. And then we're just going to come in here and just brush right over it in the places we need. This actually makes a nice transition. So I'm going to press it just a little bit here. And then I'm going to pull it up that way for the brush stroke. And then I'm going to take the same brush, go a little bit darker with it, and I can even take some of the black, the blocky, right here, and then come right in here ever so slightly and just tickle the canvas. And so just take your time with this, and then it's okay to have kind of a brush stroke with it. That was a little bit too much. It's okay. And just try to do defined brush strokes the best that you can, and then we're going to come up in here and kind of do the same thing. I'm going to go very slowly and observe what's happening with it, with the brush stroke. Pull it up, and then let's come in here, just a little here. I'm going to warm it up with a little bit of Indian red, right? There we go. And let's come and ever so slightly. It's good to have a little bit of color here and there. This is what makes things kind of come alive, is the color. Right. There we go. That was too much. Damn it. Okay. We don't want that much color, so we'll bring it back down just a little bit. So this is essentially how I go about doing the hair in this case. Coming over it just a little bit. Down. And then let's wipe the brush off, go back down in value right here, make it a little bit darker. We're going to come and take that off. There we go. Take that down some. Take this down. There's a little bit of darkness coming in there. Let's take that color out just a little bit. A little bit more brush stroke, so I'm trying to pull it. And so as we can see, it's very subtle, but we can kind of go back and forth between these values. Let's keep this. This is the darker mid-tone. I'm going to fray the brush just a little bit for that nice little hair effect. It's good. It kind of, you can paint follicles in if you're good enough, which I obviously am. I think I've proven myself time and time again. There we go. That's it. And maybe just a little bit of an accent right here if I don't mess this up. Boom! Wait, boom! Boom. Got it. And then maybe just a little bit. Come up here just a little bit. You know what? We're going to take this down some. Just a little bit. Very slightly. There we go. Here. Sweep it up. Let's get a little bit just coming right in here like that. Ooh, yes. Just tickle it in. There we go. And then connect this top piece and work this transitional edge right here. There we go. All right, my friends, so that in a nutshell is how I work this. I'm going to continue working the hair up. It is not quite correct, but that, my friends, is how we go about working this. In the next video, we'll be going over the sweet and goldy roast of freaking juicy detail.